happens to you,
you're not always aware how momentous it is. It happens, and if you live through it, you just go on living. And the experience becomes a part
of who you are, of who you'll be.
It's all you know.
It's all you need to know.
Except when it's not.
Exactly.
Yes
and no.
But knowing and doing
and knowing
are two different things.
I didn't know what to do. Amanda was a regular 13-year-old, happy, healthy, and normal.
But everything changed the blink of an eye when a severe trauma brought her world crashing down around her.
Now, years later, Amanda is struggling to piece together the fragments of her shattered mind and deal with the harsh reality of living with a mental illness.
And Others
by Dennis Bush.
Having other people tell you what to do doesn't solve the problem. It doesn't make the decision any easier. Especially what they're telling you seems like the worst possible thing that could happen. The worst possible thing you could do. It wasn't supposed to happen. My being there when it happened was an accident, and the accident was my fault. It's always my fault when bad things happen. I try to stay out of the way. I try to stay hidden so bad things don't happen. But they do. Bad things happen. I close my eyes and I try to be invisible. I try. But when I open my eyes, I can see myself in her mirror. I can see myself in her eyes. And you're not invisible if you can see yourself in somebody's eyes. When I look in the mirror, I see my face. But somebody else's eyes are looking back at me, watching me from inside. And I don't know what to do.
And when somebody tells you to do something, you do it. You don't ask questions, you do it. Good. Now we understand each other. We know who's in charge, who's calling the shots. And we know who's pathetic. Arbitra ab origine, alea lacta est. From within, from the source, past the point of no return. Octus me invito factus, non est meus octus. Octus me invito factus. The act done by me against my will is not my act.
I didn't have a choice.
Ex uno plures. Ex uno plures.
Ex uno plures.
From one, many. And I'll protect you. Always. I can't think of anything that would be more important to me than protecting you. I got a fortune in a cookie at a Chinese restaurant that said, "You are the guardian of good and true." I put it in my pocket. Well, to be honest, when I said I got a fortune in a cookie at a Chinese restaurant, I was just guessing that that's what happened. I don't remember going to a Chinese restaurant, so I couldn't remember getting a fortune in a cookie or putting the fortune in my pocket, but that's where the fortune was, so I put the pieces of the puzzle together. I have to do that a lot, put pieces of the puzzle together to figure out how things happened and when they happened, and if they really happened to me, or if I'm just getting the leftovers of somebody else's life.
You take the good with the bad, and you do your best with it. And I do. I try to fill in the blanks, the holes in my memory. I disappeared. And I see other people's eyes inside my head, watching me in the mirror. It wasn't always this way, but always isn't ever always, and forever can end in a heartbeat. What I see starts to change. It's like I'm inside my house, but in the blink of an eye, I'm in a car backing out of the driveway. But I can see myself through the window, and I can see myself looking back at myself. And the car gets farther away, like the driveway's a mile long, and she's at the end of it. And I can't see her from the window. She disappears, and I wait till it's quiet. I kind of tiptoe forward to take my turn. I don't want to disturb anybody.
Some of the others scare me. I don't think that's a bad thing. Fear is something I'm aware of. Everybody should be. It lets you know when something is wrong, so you can do something to stay safe. But just when I'm feeling okay, like everything is going to be quiet and safe and happy, somebody takes me somewhere. Somebody outside, not somebody inside, and I go along because I don't have a choice, but I pretend like I'm not there, hoping that if they look in my eyes, they see her and not me. And a lot of people are fooled by that. It's true. A lot of people don't pay attention to whose eyes they see looking back at them. And I count on that! I count on their fear, their stupidity, their weakness, and I take advantage of it.
My dad got the message loud and clear. My mom told him he had to stay home from work with me. I had a fever and sore throat, so she was making me stay home from school. She told my dad he needed to step up and pull his weight. He told my mom,
I've got this. I've got everything under control.
he said, get dressed, I'm taking you to work with me. When we got to his office, he said,
Lay on the couch.
So I did. He had his secretary make tea for me. It was so quiet in my dad's office. He's a lawyer.
A divorce lawyer, mostly.
His office had enough books to be a library. It was quiet like a library, too.
And I wait till it's quiet. I want it to stay quiet. I don't want her to go back there. I don't want her to remember. Her nightmares bleed into mine, and I'm scared.
It's somebody else's eyes. Start looking out from inside your head.
You're an embarrassment.
I'm feeling even worse than you did
You are the
before.
guardian of good and truth.
I can't see my face in the
The
window
accident
anymore.
was my fault.
And I must have
It's always my fault.
fallen asleep. When I woke up, there were 3 guys in my dad's office. He was tied to his chair with a big piece of gray tape over his mouth. I reached for my tea. I took a sip. It was cold, and I said, the tea is cold. And the short guy slapped me hard, and I screamed.
Shut up.
I ran for the door, but the short guy grabbed me. I kicked him and yelled, let me go, but he said,
You don't get a vote.
I wanted to know why no one was helping me. The guy in the camouflage pants must have read my mind because he said,
Everybody is gone for the day.
and then he started talking to my dad, like the two of them were having a nice, friendly conversation.
You shouldn't have let it happen, Jerry.
And then my dad said,
I wasn't the only one. You had a legal team. I wasn't even the lead attorney on your case.
and the guy laughs and he says,
It's kind of like the phrase on the back of the coins. E pluribus una. From many, one. We put all your names in a hat, and yours is the one we picked.
the guy in the red tie told my dad to stand up, but he said,
Let's talk about this like rational people.
and the guy got really close to my dad's face and shouted,
I told you to stand up, and when somebody tells you to do something, you do it. You don't ask questions, you do it! Good. Now we understand each other. We know who's in charge, who's calling the shots.
The guy in the camouflage pants put a gun in my right hand. And he lifted my hand, extending my arm so that the gun was pointing at my dad's head. And the guy in the red tie put a gun against my dad's heart. And he looked at me with his nobody home eyes and said, you're going to shoot your dad. And if you don't, I'm going to shoot him.
If you shoot him, we'll let you go. We won't hurt you.
My dad had tears running down his face. He said,
Do what he says, sweetie. It's the only way I can protect you. To make sure you're safe. And when somebody tells you to do something, do
you do it! You do it! It's quiet. So quiet. And even though I hadn't moved, I was still in my dad's office. And he was laying on the floor. It was like I was back at home. Inside my house. But in the blink of an eye, I was in a car backing out of the driveway. And I could see myself from the window. And I could see myself looking back at myself.
And the house gets farther away, like the driveway's a mile long. And she's
I'm
at the end of it. And I can't see myself from the window.
Actus me invito factus, nanis meus actus.
The act done by me against my will is not my act.
I didn't have a choice. I didn't have a choice.
Ex uno pluribus. Ex uno pluribus.
Ex uno pluribus. From one, many.